Hey everyone, off the top rope here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. I've done a lot of AEW content, and on behalf of myself and this channel, I want to thank AEW for just providing things for me to talk about in a really kind of dull time. It's like the All-Star game happened, but you know what? We've been talking about the NBA All-Star game for a while. It's like, I found time to talk about the Four Nations face-off, which was awesome. And WWE is working their way towards Elimination Chamber, but kind of a dull build so far to WrestleMania. So, but then leave it to AEW to cap off the crab sandwich that was this build and was this experiment that was Grand Slam Australia. And the whole experience is leading into my point. AEW is just a gigantic scam. To all of you fans who are still buying into it, I said this before. I've said it, they don't care. They don't care about you. They're not even trying. It never became more evident to me that this company does not care, and it is a giant. It's coincidental that the owner of this company and the guy who is operating the most of this thing is a con artist. His name is Tony Khan. It's a giant scam. Like look at what happened. Look at what happened with this whole situation with Australia. And you start back 6 months ago when they're in London for All in London, and they announce, "Hey, we're going to do a stadium show." I wonder why that was happening, because hey, you have an Australian-born female superstar who is beloved by many, and hey, let's go do a stadium show in front of her home fans. I wonder where they got that idea from. Yeah, WWE did that in a 50,000 seat stadium in Perth, which is probably one of the most isolated cities in the entire world to get to. It takes like a day to travel there. And yet for some reason, fans in the aftermath of this were trying to criticize WWE for only filling up half of the stadium, and they still got 50,000 people into Perth, Australia. If you could tell me where Perth, Australia is on a map, good for you, because you're lying. Because but yeah, that was ridiculous. So yeah, they get this idea, and then over the course of time, it gets dwindled down to, you guys have heard the story from me. It gets dwindled down to an arena show. It quietly becomes not a pay-per-view. It becomes a collision. Even the NBA lead-in that they were trying to say was a thing was actually like, hey, this was always part of the plan. No, it wasn't. It was never part of the plan. It was your plan to air your show on a 21 and a half hour tape delay at almost 11 o'clock Eastern time? Really? That was your plan? Again, giant con. They did. The other thing that I didn't even mention, and I give a lot of credit to some other content creators, and I did my own research in preparation for this video, there was people who actually bought tickets ahead of time to this, who are loyal AEW fans, and I believe that there are people in that are fans that legitimately want to support this company. Some of them are a little bit over the top, and I think are kind of marks, but still, like, they paid premium prices to go to a stadium show. They never got refunds. And then they had to get worse seats in the arena show place, while AEW tried to fill up the place by selling 2-for-1 specials. Didn't even give refunds. And then they're trumpeting out this, oh, this is one of our biggest gates in company history. I wonder why that happened. You sold them for premium prices. You never gave the people refunds. Of course it's going to be a good big number for you. Great. And then the capper and the cherry on top of the shit sundae that is this whole experience is something that I talked about that is now getting exposed even more, because all these people who are enabling Tony Khan and enabling this company, they're a bunch of liars. And it's really gotten to the point where it's really disgusting, in my opinion, because they very visibly, you could see that the ring for AEW Grand Slam Australia was significantly smaller than most federation sizes, which is usually an 18 by 18 ring or a 20 by 20. They were at a 16 by 16. And the reports are, whether you believe them or not, and I'm more inclined to believe it because it looked like an independent wrestling ring. It was a 16 by 16. And there's reports that Kyle Fletcher, based in Australia, talked to his indie buddies, and they got the ring from Sydney all the way to Brisbane where they had the event. And what even makes this further even ridiculous is the you could hear the ring looked small. You could put it side by side with other AEW shows just in the past week. You could go back to other international shows and see visibly that the ring on Saturday night was not was small, okay? But also, there weren't even steps. There weren't even ring steps. There were like these little like makeshift there were these little makeshift like, like tiny stairs that you see like that, and it was just like it was like this was thrown together at the last minute. And the reason why I'm taking this company to task is because they have spent, like I said, this has been a 6-month process that they tried to do something. It didn't work. They had to stay committed to it. And they did the bare minimum possible to put this show on. And yet it was still, for what it was an entertaining show with some questionable finishes, good wrestling, which has always been the calling card of this show. But when you look like a independent promotion, you're going to come across as an independent promotion. And this is supposed to be where the best wrestle, where they're paying inordinate sums of money for stars and, putting the biggest stars from ex-WWE people and putting them in high profile positions and paying out the ass. You mean to tell me that Tony Khan, who's a multi-billionaire, could not find a way to get a regulation ring into Brisbane, Australia that didn't look small? Instead, they chose to lie about it. And they told, and QT Marshall and the executives in this company, I mean, hell, Buddy Matthews, whether it was a rib or not, he basically just said, hey, he was saying, yeah, you know what, if it was a regulation size ring, hey, Okada wouldn't have been able to put his foot on the rope and I would have been the champion and I wouldn't have twisted my ankle before the thing was taken down immediately. I don't know if it was a joke or not, but regardless, it's not good optics. And so you mean to tell me that a multi-billion dollar owner in Tony Khan was not able to find a way to internationally get a ring there for something that he had planned out for 6 months and then changed without telling people, didn't refund anybody? Again, it's a giant con. It's a giant scam that this company has become. And it's a shame because at one point, this was thought of as like, the savior of wrestling, and it has given people an opportunity to perform in certain places. But like, these people don't care about you. They don't. Just look at this whole experience and tell me that they actually care about you. That doesn't, this is a giant, giant scam. And then you want to take it a step further, like being a multi-billion-dollar owner like Tony Khan, you can't ship a ring there. You can't figure out how to get a show that was supposed to be a pay-per-view. You can't figure out on a streaming platform that you are now trumpeting out, which everybody seems to convince me that that's the reason why some of their ratings are down, because a lot of people are watching on Max. Guys, I'll tell you this, 9 people you ask out of 10 are not going to know what the fuck Max is, okay? It's like Max is very good, but it's not even close to what Netflix is. But you mean to tell me that you stream your episodes of Dynamite every single week and you couldn't figure out how to get the show from Brisbane on live on your streaming platform? When WWE, yes, I understand WWE, but WWE's kind of new into this streaming environment too, in terms of their international shows. They were able to put a show on in Australia, in Perth, a year ago, and there was no issues. Yeah, it was 2:30 in the morning here Pacific time, 5:30 Eastern time, so it was early as shit for most of the world. But you mean to tell me that you couldn't put this on live? Again, multi-billion-dollar guy, has the resources, has the funds and the means to do things that would make his company look better, but he did the bare minimum. It was a good show, because hey, it's like fans in wrestling, hey, and he's got a lot of talented people in his company. So admittedly, it was a fun show. But again, it came across as an independent wrestling show because of the small ring, because they dumbed down the size of of the event from 50,000 to 10,000. You can't air the show live. Um and it was a pay-per-view, and then it's just a television event. It's just a glorified episode of Collision, a better episode of Collision. Again, I will say it. I've said it before, and I will say it again. And I'm just more or less using some wordplay here on this video. Tony Khan is a giant con artist. That's what he is. AEW has become a giant scam because if you're trying to fork over your money for this crap, at this point, you are being fooled. Because look at the people who paid premium prices to go see a stadium show, never got their money back. How's that? How's that like, being good to your fans? You guys trumpet yourselves as trying to be better than the Vince McMahon WWE. This is the same type of shit that he was trying to pull. He was a multi-billionaire too. Tony Khan, you were supposed to be the savior of this whole thing, right? Now, because everything's flailing and you want to project that everything's okay and your company's profitable because Warner Brothers Discovery got fooled into paying you $160 some odd million for the next 3 years. Good for you. You got paid. You're a success in some respect because you got a contract. But you know what? I said it when the contract was signed. It's all about what you do now. And this is not a good look. This was an awful look. Anybody who's trying to tell me that it's normal is ridiculous. You're all enabling this shit. Anybody who is within this company trying to perpetuate that something like this, that this was a normal type of practice with the ring and everything, you're an idiot. You're a liar. It's embarrassing. Like, it's just, there's so many things that have gone into this place going down the tubes, but this was a microcosm of everything that has been wrong with this place in the last year and a half. And when you do something like this, I'm going to call you out on it because I want this place to do well. There's people that I like there. There's a lot of people that I like there. Some people that, like, all due respect to Adam Copeland Edge, I don't think he should be challenging for the world championship, but hey, I love Edge. Edge is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I love Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. She's not doing as great as she was in WWE, but she's a talented performer. There's rising talents in there. I love Buddy Matthews. It's great that he's getting a platform because he's outstanding. Like, it's just, you're only as good as your leadership in any business whatsoever. And it's clear as day that you can see how Tony Khan is running this place is how he feels about this place. It's a hobby. He's a mark. He doesn't care about making money. He doesn't care about you. He cares about what he wants. And he didn't want to put in the maximum effort to make this show as good as it could have been. It was a good show, but it could have been a lot better if a lot of the aesthetics and a lot of the, basic fundamentals of how to prepare for a wrestling show were put in. So don't give me this crap that, the 16 by 16 ring is your normal thing. Guys, I literally went back to Wednesday's Dynamite. You could go to my social media. I went back to Wednesday's Dynamite, just literally like a few days before the show happened in Australia. It's noticeable how much smaller the ring is in Australia versus Dynamite. I saw a photo from an international show, if you want to take it to that extreme. All In's ring looked bigger than, there were spots in matches where Kyle Fletcher was supposed to roll under the rope. He bounced over the rope because the ring is too, it's smaller. It's a 16 by 16, or it should have been an 18 by 18, or maybe even a 20 by 20. I understand that, some of these costs are and freight cost and whatever. Some people brought that up. Even if that's the case, that's not an excuse. Tony Khan's got the money to, do this type of thing. Not because he's already got the money because of his dad and because of his family. And then on top of that, it's all the money that you got, the TV money. What are we doing? What are we doing? Again, giant con, giant scam. Y'all should be embarrassed, seriously. And if you're enabling this, you're on an island. You're on an island at this point. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon.